Welcome to Business Brains and the Bottom Line podcast. My name is Paul Delegro, your host today, and my guest is Leah McLean. Welcome to the show, Leah.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're quite welcome. So your day job, you're VP of Cybersecurity at MasterCard, little company.
It's small, spec.
Yeah. But we're not really here to talk about MasterCard, right? We're here to talk about, cybersecurity in general and kind of risk assessments and all that other good stuff that goes along with it. So, you do this every day, What's your assessment of the state of the union in cybersecurity today in general? I mean, it's kind of a general question, but I know you have your opinions on these.
Yeah, good question. Definitely changing every day and learning new things every day and seeing new things, right, evolve in the threat landscape. I'd say, speaking very with recent events geopolitically, I mean, with everything that's happening with the war going on, Ukraine and Russia, that, has really raised things to a whole new level. I think when you look at how now cyber warfare is real, and I think we've all witnessed that with this circumstance and the war. I think it's also making us do a couple of things, right, as a broader community and industry. One, the need for information to learn and to know how to manage it, right, the circumstance, and be as prepared as possible is greater than ever. And I think that was the same for the pandemic, right? These are new times for a lot of us, and working in new and different ways because of the situations that we haven't really been faced with before. And so while there are many things I think we still are far behind on and need to catch up on, I'd say the community coming together more and more to share, to help each other out, to support, to kind of put everything more into one place to really help us have the data and the knowledge that we need so that we can do what we need to do within our jobs, right? Have the necessary information to report to the board, to report to the executive team, to understand what is the situation, how can we solve for it, what do we need to prioritize to stay ahead of it and ahead of the attackers that are part of this. So that's been good. And I think some of the appointments that they've made with Jen Easterly at CISA, that's been a big help to it. And as much as we still need to bring a lot of more close work together in public or collaboration with public and private sector, I do see it happening more. So, I mean, it's ever evolving. And I think we just need to be realizing that it's not a time it's not a time to shame people or to call them out if mistakes are made. It's more of a time of we really need to band together more and be more collective in how we approach things and advance, because any other way other than that, it's not going to help us.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, we talk about that a lot. I had a gentleman on by the name of George Finney, who I think you know.
Oh, yeah, Mr. George Finney.
He's a CISO over at SMU. And
he's great.
We talked about the culture of cybersecurity, about how the messaging is delivered internally at every organization. And you don't want to shame people. I'll use the word you use. And because what does that do to people? If people know they're going to get shamed by reporting something, like if they got phished or something like that, they'd never report it.
Right.
Right? So you're right. It's got to be that collaborative effort and bring people together. I don't know, it's been this whole ransomware has been the big popular one the last couple of years, right? But do you think the war in Ukraine and Russia has really pushed it over the edge, like we've really got to collaborate? Do you think that has had a huge effect on it?
Yes, I think, if I look back to it's all the big ones that we see in the news, at least, or hear about, right? There's a lot of other big ones that don't make it to the headlines. I'll say SolarWinds was a big one, right? So Log4j, last year, and then now with the war. I do think when the incidents are big, and when things are happening at a new scale, especially with ransomware and some of the new malware we see that we haven't seen before, or their new strands, if you will, that's when I think people are very much coming together more and realizing that everyone is susceptible. No matter how many walls you put up, no matter what you do to prepare, you still have a possibility.
Yeah, nothing's 100%.
Nothing's foolproof, right? Our life is not foolproof, right? We all have an expiration date at some point in time. But I think, because of those bigger circumstances that are impacting our personal lives too, I do think that is driving for better collaboration. We still have a lot of work to do, though, a lot more work to do in that area. And I don't think it'll be done in my lifetime, but I hope that by the time my niece and nephew enter the workforce, it's done for them.
Yeah, well, we can only hope, right?
Yeah.
But I agree that you would think that, so every solution out there, you're in technology, we sell, security solutions. Every technology out there has their strengths. But if you could ever get all those folks to talk together, right, and combine those, it's not going to happen. I don't see it, because every company's got to have differentiators.
Yeah.
But the strategy we like to provide our customers is you need multiple layers, right? You can't, one solution is not going to solve it. So if you have multiple layers, if one misses, the next one catches it. So you just do the best you can.
Yeah, and the power of the ecosystem, right? Because as much as I think there's a lot of the marketing out there that might say there's the one all for all, we know it doesn't exist, right?
Yeah, well, I always tell customers, if someone tells you they do it all, they're lying to you. It can't happen.
And we need, speaking of that, we need truth.
Yeah.
We need truth and transparency. We all make mistakes. Everyone does. We're human. So that's going to happen. But you don't ever want to be in the predicament where you've gotten lied to, or somebody wasn't transparent with you, and then it actually impacts your job because of what you've deployed or implemented or whatever else. So that we need, and quite frankly, we're under more pressure now and scrutiny. I mean, there's mandates left and right. I mean, speaking of the time it takes to report an incident now, they're looking at 36 hours now.
Right.
And then I will say this now, just because we're talking about this live, May, was it today? The 6th?
6th.
But next week, I'm pretty excited to see what happens with the SEC mandate, and I hope it's definitely in the favor that will change cyber risk.
I agree. So obviously you're on the customer side of things at MasterCard, or any company, call it ABC company. What would you recommend a company to do as far as kind of getting level set, doing an assessment of where they're at from a security standpoint? What should companies do? Yeah,
good question. And I think we're all always probably on the sides of both customer and sales, right? Always selling cybersecurity. And I'm pretty passionate about overall cyber risk and risk assessments, because and I'm not alone in this, but there's a lot of us just trying to advance security, whether that's people, processes, or technology.
Right.
And when I look at risk assessments, I mean, look at the broader business risk, right? There is risk within each department in an organization. There's risk with finance, compliance. There's risk in all parts of the organization. And then you've got cyber risk. And I think the more that those groups can come together, the more that those teams can work together to understand their areas of risk, what they're doing to solve for that, and how they're assessing and managing it. And if that can be more blended, I think that can really up-level or help have a better narrative and outcome on your risk score and how you can enable the business. Because at the end of the day, I think we're moving much away from, sure, you need to understand everything that's happening, the cybersecurity maturity scoring and whatnot of all of your technology components and firewalls, etc. But it's really beyond that, right? We need to understand the behavior of the threat actors. We need to understand the threats tied to those threat actors. Looking broadly at the other risks in the organization outside of cyber. And I think when you can have more of a comprehensive view and approach and narrative around that, then that's something that you can take to the C-suite or to the board, and they will understand, right? And the quantification's big. Whenever you can correlate back to the financial impact and analysis, everybody understands financial loss, right?
Yeah.
So, and then continuous, I'd say continuous monitoring with assessments, continuous assessments, I guess you would say. I've had a lot of conversations with quite a few folks in this area who are also seeing the need for this and why it's so important, right? I mean, if we think about, let's just take our home safety, for example, right? Our physical security at homes. I don't know. I have a Ring device.
Same here,
I
by
switched,
the way.
right?
Yeah, I get Ring.
I do monitor it, and it's not just like once every 6 months, right? Because I need to know.
Yeah.
So that
I get the alerts on my phone, so if someone walks by my house, I get notified.
Yeah,
so
but I pay attention to those, and then I make sure: do I have to do any upgrades, or do I need to change anything? So it's much more, once a month, ideal. Maybe more frequently than that if we can do that. But every quarter or every 6 months, that's not enough anymore because the attack landscape is changing that much and the threat actors are changing that much. And then I think, really working with all of the peers in all those different functions is hopefully where we'll start to see it go.
So you're saying continuous monitoring, right? Continuous assessments, not just a quarterly annual pen testing or anything like that. It's got to be ongoing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, actually. And you're right. The attackers, they're morphing, right? They're changing their styles, and there's new attack methods every day.
Yeah.
So if you don't evolve, you're going to be left behind.
100%.
I know that some of our customers with cyber insurance, I mean, they have to. That's a whole nother, avenue that they're getting forced to do things. Right, say multi-factor authentication. If they don't have that, they're not going to be able to get insurance, and so there's a lot of things forcing the issue there.
Oh yeah, I mean, well now with all the ransomware, the insurance companies have to pay out now, right? And so now looking at where are they going to price their premiums based on the company's cyber risk score, right?
Right, that's it.
Whole new market.
Yeah, so customers got to step up, or their insurance bill goes up. So, I've never seen what a bill is, but, I'm sure it can't be cheap.
No.
And it seems like, it's not a matter of if you get hit, it's when. Because everyone's going to get hit. We've had some small customers get hit, and, we've helped them out. We've remediated the situation without having them cost them anything, but a lot of companies just pay it.
Yeah.
And what's your take on that, by the way? I know the government stance is never pay, but what's your take on that?
Yeah, good question. And I know there's quite a bit of, dialogue with the FBI and some other government entities on advising, what their guidance is there. And I think it just comes back to the importance of continuous assessments, right? Continuously understanding so that hopefully you're not in that predicament. But then really you've got to work with your legal teams, your finance teams. I mean, there's a big collective group of people you have to work with to come to that conclusion and decide what's best for the organization. And, I think we'll start to see more changes on whether that becomes mandated or not, and what the ultimate path is forward that the majority take. Yeah. And so that's why when we have things like the SEC that might be driving these behavior changes, I think it's a good thing because we can't do the same things we did 20 years ago. And it's all comes back to human and behavior, right?
Yeah. It would be interesting. I mean, in theory, if no one paid, the hackers wouldn't exist, right? But we know that's not reality because, they've got your data and your company's down, losing money every day. Knee-jerk reaction, you're going to pay it. Right?
More than likely.
Yeah. I think that, and quietly, right? No one's going to admit they got hacked, right? No one's going to admit they got hit with ransomware and, hey, it cost me $3 million or $5 million, whatever it is.
No one wants to admit it, but at the end of the day, do we need to know about it, right?
I think so.
I mean, we
think
do.
So. Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
the thing. And I don't know if it's so much that no one wants to admit it anymore. I think it's definitely becoming more open that people will share and admit, because again, if you don't talk about the problems and the challenges and you just sweep them under the rug, you're never going to solve for them.
Yep, completely agree. It'll be interesting what the SEC comes back with in a week.
Yeah.
I've been following that as well, but I think they should make it mandatory.
I think so too. May 8th, yeah. We'll
a couple of days, actually, yeah. No.
Yeah.
Well, changing direction here. We talked enough about cybersecurity, and I appreciate it. Very insightful. You do have some other passions that you're interested in, like women in technology. You're involved in some groups to, foster that. What's your take on what do you do in that arena?
Yeah. Well, having been someone, female, obviously, being in the industry my entire career, right? IT, technology, and then cybersecurity. I've seen it always, right? We still don't have as many women as we do men. And I'm passionate about giving. And there was a time in my career earlier on, right, younger years, when I wasn't confident, and I didn't at the time always have a group around me or the support internally at companies that raised me up as a female or gave me like that platform, right? And that changed over time, and I had to realize and learn myself how to do that. And I'm grateful to the people and my mentors who did that for me and gave that to me and helped me to get to a point where now I want to be part of doing that for other women and other females. I am part of Women in Cybersecurity. I'm a member, and I've spoken at some of their conference chapters or their local chapters. And it's a lot of the women I see, I'll just take the example of they're either trying to career transition into cybersecurity, but they've already been in the workforce, or they're breaking in just out of school or college or from the military. Most of the time, they're not asking for what they want or negotiating in a salary, for example, when men do it left and right. So it's how can I give back and support them and give them the guidance and the mentorship so that they can become, confident in doing that and standing up for themselves. And I really, I'll say this, it's not even for just females, but all the cattiness and judginess out there, we got to stop.
Yeah, I agree.
Over it, right?
Yeah.
We got to just support each other. We got to support each other. Support.
Regardless of gender, right?
Yeah.
And technology can be a pretty tough business, as you know.
Yes.
Pretty competitive.
Oh, it's very competitive.
Yeah. Yeah. So, having three daughters, that's near and dear to my heart because I clearly want them to get the most out of their careers in life, and I would never want to see them being held back. And one of my daughters is graduating this month from SMU with a degree in electrical engineering. Yeah, next weekend, as a matter of fact.
Oh, fun!
But again, she's in a male-dominated industry. I mean, she did an internship. I won't mention the company, but there were like 40 people in her intern class, and she was the only girl.
Wow!
And I never thought I was shocked by that because I figured today's day and age, this it's opening up to more and to women more and more, and that even surprised me. But I guess you can't force women to go into it, right? They've got to want to go into it or be exposed to it and, elevate their interest level into something. But,
Well, there are things we can do to make it more inviting.
Because that was actually going to be my next question. What can we do to foster, more women getting into technology or getting into whatever technical field they want?
So I'll give this example because it actually just came up with this morning or this week. There was an article that came out with a pretty good study in general, and a couple of my some folks I do some community work with in the industry were quoted, so it was great, right? Both males. And I went back to look at the article again, and they had, I'd say there were probably almost 20 people quoted. And I noticed of those 20, only 3 were females. So I thought to myself, if I'm a female trying to break in reading this article and I see all men quote it, but 3 females, that's a bit intimidating.
Yeah,
and so I think we really have to look at being inclusive, right? That's the whole point of it. When speaking panels, articles, groups, have a balance, have diversity.
Right.
Because without that, it's going to be hard to change and bring diversity in and bring females in. You have to be doing it and show it so that people are comfortable and realize there's a place for me.
Yeah. No, and you mentioned the intimidation factor.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Getting out of your comfort zone. If you feel like, hey, I'm not smart enough, I'm not a man, I can't do that. It can be intimidating. It
is. I mean, I won't lie. No matter how far I get in my career or how much older I get, there are still times when I'm having to work harder and study more to just prove myself.
Yeah.
Right. And it's based on my gender. So I want others, though, to feel empowered and to have the voice. And, we need allyship, too. Like, you're a great one, right? You support females. You've got your 3 daughters, and congrats again.
I had no choice. They'd kill me if I didn't.
I know, but congrats again to your daughter that's graduating soon. That's very exciting. And to be in engineering, I'm happy for you. But
thank you. Yeah,
you're a perfect example of someone who does support others.
And I got 3 great kids. They're all different. One's a social worker, one's a teacher, and one's going to be an electrical engineer.
Yeah.
So just 3 different fields, and I always coach them into just do what are your interests, right? I don't think I ever said, well, you can't do that because you're a girl. I know I never said that, but I never tried to direct them into like girl-dominated things. I'm like, find your passions. Let's help you find out what you like to do, and so far it's working.
Now, question for you, being a dad to 3 daughters, because my dad did that. I was the only daughter in the family. It's just 2 of us, my brother and I. But my dad, and I know why he did it. Now I know why. I didn't at the time. But he wanted me to be very independent and strong and capable and being able to take care of myself. So he would purposely do things like, I remember, he'd ride us out on the bicycles and give me a flat tire and then just ditch me. Say, go ahead, fix it. You know how, right? Or with the car, he would leave me stranded with the car to fix by myself, right? And I hated it at the time, the things he did and those survival skills.
Yeah.
But man, let me tell you now, I thank you to my dad because the things he did make me do early on, and I didn't understand it then, but thank you.
Yeah, I don't think I ever did anything like that, by the way. But we did try to teach independence, right? I think we've succeeded at that. We have 3 young ladies that are very independent, strong thinkers, and because we always told them, look, you never know what tomorrow brings. We'd like, of course, as parents, we'd like them to get married and have kids, but it's not the end all be all. I've never really pushed them into you got to do this. I want them to be happy. That's my number 1 concern. I want them to be happy.
You're a good dad.
I'm not. I'm not winning any awards, but I try.
Well, hopefully, maybe this Father's Day.
Yeah. I have a note here: nonprofit to help people get into cybersecurity. What is that organization all about?
Oh yes. So I became a co-founder of a nonprofit called Whole Cyber Human Initiative last year, and it spun out the idea, again, looking at our industry and where are some of the challenges that we wanted to solve for around hiring. How do we hire today in cybersecurity? How do we change how it's done? Because the system right now, it's not working to bring in the people that we need to, and there's still multi-million plus of job openings, yet a lot of people who still can't get jobs but are qualified and talented and skilled.
Why do you think that is, though?
I think it's the way organizations are set up to hire. I think part of it has to do with the talent and HR teams don't truly understand cybersecurity. And that's partly on for accountability purposes. We need hiring managers to help to help them understand what to look for, write the proper job descriptions, right? Make them realistic, especially for entry level. And the way that we currently have to submit applications online, it can miss a lot of the actual talented people just based on keywords.
Intangibles.
So it's again, it's behavior changes, right? How many of us had to kind of change our behavior during the pandemic and after, even personally, right?
Oh, yeah.
And just part of evolving as a human being, we have to change behavior. And so that's a big part of it is let's look at a different way to do this. And there are other ways. And let's look at getting cybersecurity education early on in school from pre-kindergarten and up. And giving people having, again, industry partner with schools and partner with other organizations so that those folks are more skilled and trained in the areas for the workforce, right? And the alignment. And so there's a lot of work that we do. We're basically, I guess in the short, succinct sense, cyber workforce development firm really helping the candidates with the focus there, we put together an entire program that's based on free training and mentorship to prepare these candidates whether they are just out of school, career transitioning, out of the military, you name it, giving them that program that they can go through with some guidance and also helping to them to understand what part in cybersecurity to go into, right? Because it's a massive field.
Yeah, it's a pretty broad net, cybersecurity, right? There's a lot under that.
Yeah. So it's and then we're partnering with a lot of other great companies and my former employer, Cyber Future Foundation. I was happy to see that collaboration come together. But it's, again, I just look at where I want to create a better world for people. I think I keep going back to my niece and nephew, or the future generations. And so, what can I do and give back? And what do I enjoy doing, right? And giving back because of the help I got, and it wasn't easy. And I still thank my mentors today for being who they are and what they did for me.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's a degree of self-satisfaction of when you give back, you enjoy it.
Oh, right? Yes. And it helps us all, right?
Yeah.
Anyone can learn. And if someone's motivated and willing enough, then, and I actually am in the position currently where I'm taking on someone who's younger, just a few hours a week at my current company. And I'm upskilling her, and I'm excited to see in 6 months where that leads.
I think that's important to have a mentor. I think you're seeing that more and more. I'm hearing it more and more. They kind of like a buddy mentor type situation where, and I'm not saying like if you're 25, get some 70-year-old mentor, get someone that's got a lot more in common with that can really help you and know where you are in your life. I think that's important.
Yeah,
help you along the way.
I don't know if we'll ever be too old to have mentors.
Yeah, that's a good point. So, well, if someone, I know you mentioned the name of the organization. If someone wanted to get in touch with you or your organization, how would they do it?
Oh, thank you. Yes, wholecyberhumaninitiative.org, or find me on LinkedIn, find us on LinkedIn. Yes, happy to help. It's free.
Awesome. Well, Leah, this was great. I really enjoyed having you on today. Thanks for being a guest on the show, and I'm sure we'll run into you around town. We run in some of the same circles. So. Oh
yes, no, thank you, Paul, for having me and for everything that you do in the community.
All right, thank you. And that's it for this edition of Business Brains and the Bottom Line.